If you've been watching, Seleah's journey through time is becoming more dangerous by the day. She's trying to save her father without destroying herself. But the truth is, this didn't start with her. It started with the mothers and the connection to Hanrae. Before the race continues, we enter the past. As we enter, the small shop smelled of herbs and soaps. Jars lined the walls, each with handwritten labels. The door creaked as the woman stepped in, holding her purse close to her chest. "Can I help you?" Hanrae said. "I need something to help my son sleep. He has nightmares. Every night now." Hanrae nodded and began moving along the shelves. "What kind of dreams?" The woman hesitated. "He talks in his sleep sometimes. Last night, I heard him say, 'I'll save you.'" Hanrae turned to her slightly. "Save who? I'm sorry. What's your name?" "Oh, it's okay. It's Ihana. And that's what I asked him in the morning. And he said, 'My princess.'" She gave a small, nervous laugh. "He's only 5. I don't know where he gets that from." Hanrae studied her face. "You said nightmares. How long has he had them?" The woman's voice softened. "Since his father passed away. It happened in the park. His father had a heart attack, and my son was with him. He ran into the middle of the street to stop the traffic to get help. I still don't know how he wasn't hit. But he doesn't talk much anymore. He just draws. Keeps saying he'll see her one day. I don't know what to do now." Hanrae set the jar back she was holding and gestured toward the curtain that led to the back room. "Come, sit with me for a moment." The woman followed. The back room was quiet, filled with a faint smell of sandalwood. Hanrae began. "Dreams like that don't always come from fear. Sometimes they come from memory, from a promise made before his life. This one, to be specific." "A promise?" "He's connected to someone, a girl he hasn't met yet. When he finds her, he'll remember. And when he does, he'll be happy again, married even. You'll have a granddaughter." The woman gave a small smile, unsure whether to believe her or not. "And what should I do then?" Hanrae picked up a small bundle of herbs and a slip of paper. "When he sleeps tonight, say these words, and your own wishes for his happiness. Then put it under his pillow. It will help his heart find its way." The woman nodded slowly, taking the pouch. "Thank you. 감사합니다." Hanrae's expression softened. "You're welcome. And don't worry. His story isn't finished yet." The woman left quietly. The bell above the door gave a soft ring. Morning light flickered through the train windows as the car slid out of Seoul. Hanrae sat near the back, a cloth bag resting on her lap. Inside were herbs wrapped in a brown bag and a few letters she hadn't mailed. She looked older now, her hair streaked with gray, but her posture carried the same calm from years ago. Across the aisle sat a man staring out the window, early 30s, suit jacket folded neatly, and beside him, earbuds dangling but not playing. His expression was distant, the kind that comes from living inside your head too much. When the train slowed, Hanrae rose to stand near the door. The man shifted and stood as well. He glanced up for only a second. She turned slightly, just enough to see his face. Something in her paused. When the train finally came to a stop, the door stuck halfway open. She pressed the button twice, but they didn't move. The man walked up behind her. "Let me try," he said, reaching over to hit the switch. The door slid open with a hiss. She turned slightly, just enough to see his face. "Thank you, 감사합니다," she said. He gave a small nod and stepped aside to let her through. As she passed, she slipped her hand into her coat pocket, then brushed his sleeve, leaving the small bundle tucked inside his jacket pocket without him noticing. She stepped off the train without looking back. Got you, she said. The packet of herbs, the same blend she'd once given the two mothers half a lifetime ago, had finally reached their destination. As the train faded into the distance, he went on his way through the crowd. She whispered to herself, "Now it begins." Sunlight poured through the bedroom window, warming the open suitcase on the bed. Seleah moved between the closet and the dresser, folding clothes into neat stacks, then tossing half of them back out again. "I know it sounds impulsive, Mother, but it's not. I got the offer months ago." Her mother sat on the edge of the bed, folding one of Seleah's sweaters. "And it's not just about the job, you know. I think it's just, I want to see where you lived, where he lived, just to feel it." Her mother looked up at that, not startled, more like remembering something buried under the years. She stood without a word and left the room. Seleah kept packing, talking through the open door. "I mean, I know he didn't grow up in Seoul, but it's something. The closest I'll ever get, maybe." The sound of the drawer opening, soft rustling. Her mother returned with a small fabric satchel, old, a little faded, but still knotted at the top. She didn't explain, just waited for Seleah to turn around, then slipped it quietly into the layers of her folded clothes. Seleah looked at her. "What's that?" "Nothing bad. Just something that keeps you grounded," she said. As Seleah went back to packing, her mother placed her hand over the bag for a second longer, lips moving in a quiet prayer. She didn't say the words out loud, but in her mind. "Please, let them still carry something." The suitcase zipped shut. The satchel disappeared into it, unseen. Meanwhile, in 1995, Hanrae watched from behind the counter as she ate her breakfast, small bites of rice and kimchi, chopsticks resting between her fingers. She didn't stare openly, just enough to let herself enjoy the view. Minjae and Seleah moved around each other so easily, effortlessly, natural. The kind of connection that grew, even when no one watered it. The kind people talked about in poems, but rarely saw in real life. Hanrae smiled to herself. They thought that they were just helping each other, running errands and passing time. But she could see that glow around them, that soft light that wrapped itself around two people who belonged together long before they knew it. Would they call it love? No, not yet. They were too cautious, too scared to name it. Would they just try to reduce it to just friendship? Say it was coincidence. Say it was simple. Hanrae nearly laughed. There was nothing simple about that connection at all. Nothing casual. Nothing common. It was that rare thing that she'd seen only a few times in her long life. The way two people could just click without even trying. The way curiosity slipped between them like a quiet current. The way their conversations never seemed to run out. All night, all day, it was magic. The kind that she used to believe that she could keep for herself once. Her eyes softened at the old memory sweeping through her. A warm hand, a laugh. She'd never forgotten. The feeling of being seen, truly seen for the first time. It was amazing. She blinked the memory away just in time to see Seleah and Minjae at the door. Seleah slipped her coat on. Minjae grabbed a list of herbs they need to collect for the day. Hanrae straightened. "Going out again?" Seleah nodded. "We need a few more herbs for the ceremony." She glanced at Minjae. "And a dress." Hanrae smiled knowingly. "Well then, don't be long. The moon doesn't wait for anyone." Minjae opened the door for Seleah without even thinking. She stepped outside without even noticing. She responded to him like she had known him her entire life. Hanrae watched them disappear down the road, their shoulders close, their steps unconsciously matching. "Go on then, before time decides for you," she said to herself. The bell above the boutique door chimed as they stepped in. It wasn't a flea market stall or a sidewalk vendor. This was a real dress shop. Fitted mannequins, silk-covered hangers, warm lighting that made everything look expensive. Seleah stopped just inside the doorway and looked at Minjae. "Did you forget that I don't have a job?" she said jokingly, but her eyes flicked over the prices. They weren't small. Minjae didn't miss a beat. "Of course not," he said. He stepped ahead of her, opening his palm toward the rows of dresses. "Let's look anyway." Seleah shook her head, but she followed him in, unable to stop the small smile pulling at her mouth. She didn't see the way he glanced at her first, at her face, not at the dress racks, as if searching for the one that would make her shine. Seleah moved along the rack, fingers brushing the fabric of ceremony dresses, soft creams, pale blues, warm pink tones. Minjae stayed close, but not hovering. He waited with that calm patience he always had around her, like he knew she'd pick something far too modest. He was right. She reached for a simple beige dress, nothing fancy, nothing that stood out, something safe. Before her hand touched it, Minjae gently placed another dress in front of her, a black one, clean lines, sleek, elegant. It was a kind of dress that was meant for being seen, not hidden. Seleah blinked. "Minjae, what's this?" He held it up, clearing his throat like he was trying to pretend this wasn't something he had been rehearsing. "I know I promised I'd stay close, help keep an eye on your father, and I meant that." He paused. "But I need you to." She looked at him, confused for a moment. "What do you mean?" Minjae shifted, suddenly awkward in a way she rarely saw. "I have a company banquet coming up. It's a lot. Everyone goes with someone, and He swallowed. "I hate going alone. I don't want to go alone." She softened instantly. "And you want me to go with you?" He held the black dress up like a peace offering. "Yes, if you'd come." Seleah stared at the dress, then at him. There was almost something vulnerable in his eyes, not romantic, not yet, but wanting her presence, her company, her steadiness. She ran her fingers over the fabric. "You really think I could wear this?" "It's off the rack. Just try it." She laughed under her breath, shaking her head at him. But she didn't say no. Instead, she turned to the ceremony rack and pulled out a soft cream dress, the one her mother would approve of, the one that felt gentle and right. She held it against herself. "And this one is for the ceremony," she said. He nodded, looking her over with a smile he tried to hide. "Good choice," he said. She glanced between both dresses. "Minjae, these cost money." Without hesitation, he reached for them. "So, I invited you. I'll take care of it." Seleah didn't argue. She just watched him pay, confident, sure, a little proud. And she couldn't help the thought. It slipped so gently and quietly into her chest. He was becoming important. Too important, maybe. They returned to her parents' home, with the dresses tucked neatly inside paper bags. Her mother lit up immediately, pulling Seleah toward the bedroom to inspect the goods. Thomas watched them disappear down the hall. Then Minjae turned with an amused expression. "Well, looks like you survived dress shopping," he said. Minjae grinned. "Barely." Thomas slipped on his shoes. "I need to run an errand." Seleah peered halfway down the hall, glancing back at Minjae. She didn't say anything, just lifted her eyebrows in that quiet way that meant, "Go with him." Minjae caught it instantly. I can join you, if that's all right." "Did Seleah pay you to be my bodyguard?" he said. "No. I figured she'd want some time with her mother, and I wouldn't mind the walk." Thomas nodded, opening the door. "All right, then. Let's go," he said. They stepped outside. The air was cool and bright. At first they walked casually, talking about small things, the weather, the shop, the ceremony prep. But a few blocks in, Minjae's tone shifted. He began to slow. "Can I ask you something?" he said. Thomas looked over. "Sure." Minjae hesitated. The kind of hesitation that comes when the truth is too big to rush. "Are you afraid," he said, "of what's coming?" Thomas didn't answer right away. He kept walking, hands in his pockets, eyes on the path ahead. And Minjae waited, heart beating harder than he expected. Because this wasn't a question about fear. It was a question about love, about letting go, about holding on, about Seleah. And Thomas knew it. Thomas kept walking for a few steps, his shoes crunching lightly over the gravel as he let Minjae's question settle. He didn't rush. He never did. Finally, he glanced at Minjae with a faint smile, tired, warm, and real. "You want the truth," he said. "Yes." Thomas exhaled slowly, the air leaving him like he'd been holding it for months. "Yes, I'm afraid." He looked down at the road, voice quiet. "I think anyone would be, knowing there's an end coming." Minjae swallowed. "Chesawamida," he said. "I'm sorry." Thomas shook his head. "That's not the part that scares me, son." The word son hit Minjae differently. It wasn't casual. It wasn't forced. It slipped out like something natural, something true. Thomas continued. What scares me is what happens after. To them," he paused. "To my wife and to Seleah." Minjae nodded slowly. "Ihe soyo," he said. "I understand." Thomas gave a low laugh. "Do you?" "Maybe you do. You seem like the type who carries more weight with you than you let people see." Minjae looked away embarrassed. "You asked if I'm afraid of the outcome." He nodded. "Yes, but not of dying." Minjae's chest tightened. Thomas looked directly at him. "I'm afraid she won't have the anchor she needs. I'm afraid she'll be alone. I'm afraid she won't stay as long as she deserves to." Minjae's eyebrows pulled together. "Why wouldn't she stay?" Thomas studied him for a long moment, as if deciding how much to say. Then, when you love someone, really love them, they become your reason to stay, your reason to breathe, your reason to fight. Minjae felt those words land heavily on him, warm at the same time. He lowered his gaze. Thomas nudged him gently with his elbow. "You're already halfway there." "I could see it." Minjae blinked, startled. "Halfway there?" Minjae said. Thomas chuckled. "Toward her." Minjae opened his mouth, then closed it again. Unsure what to say, really. Thomas kept walking, his voice softer now. "I know you feel something for her. I know she feels something for you." Minjae's pulse quickened. "You remind me of myself when I was your age. Quiet, careful, trying not to want more than life says you deserve." The words broke something in Minjae he didn't expect. He almost stopped walking. "How do you know?" "About wanting more," he said. Thomas smiled, small and sad. "Because I loved a woman. I loved a woman that I never thought I could have." He looked toward the horizon, eyes soft with memory. "Your mother-in-law was the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I thought she was out of my league, really. Too good for me, too strong." Minjae felt his throat tighten. "And yet, she loved me. That love saved me, gave me a family, a daughter who lights up the world. sets it on fire just by breathing. Minjae looked down at the ground, overwhelmed. Do you think she could love me like that? Thomas stepped closer, placed his hand on Minjae's shoulder. Son, she already does. She just doesn't know how to say it yet. Minjae's breath caught, sharp, unsteady. Thomas squeezed his shoulder. But the real question is, do you want her? Not casually, not safely, not halfway. I mean all the way. Minjae didn't hesitate this time. Yes. His voice was quiet but firm. I want her. And I want a family, a life, someone who chooses me. Thomas smiled, warm and satisfied. Then, you have my blessing. Minjae blinked hard, emotion hitting him fast. But if you hurt her, Thomas said. He nodded toward the sky with mock seriousness. I'll haunt your ass. Clean out of Korea. They both burst into laughter. Real, full, unguarded. They kept walking, lighter than before. The air easier now between them. And for the first time, Minjae felt like he wasn't walking alone anymore. Back at home, the air felt lighter for the moment, almost peaceful. Rosalie and Seleah moved from room to room, putting away dishes here and trying on dresses there, smiling in that polite way women smile when they're trying to forget the truth sitting in the center of the room. Then the phone rang, one sharp ring. Both women froze where they stood. It was a kind of silence that falls when two hearts dropped at the same time. Rosalie swallowed and answered softly. Hello? A pause. Her shoulders loosened. Oh, it's Hanrae. Yes, we're home. Seleah exhaled, relief loosening her chest. Rosalie turned slightly away from her daughter, keeping her voice bright. Of course. Then she began speaking quietly. You want to speak with me? Alone? A stunned beat. Yes, I'll come. She kept her smile plastered on her face until the call ended. Seleah didn't ask. She just kept folding dresses, pretending that she accepted whatever that was about. But the moment Rosalie stepped out, Seleah's heart thudded. Something was wrong. Something was always wrong. Seleah had made up in her mind that she would pay Hanrae a visit later. She felt like she was more in the dark than she wanted to be. She knew Hanrae wasn't telling her everything, but she knew she wasn't being manipulative, just not forthcoming, and not focused on her main priority. She arrived at the shop later that evening. Hanrae was already expecting her, it seemed. She didn't knock. She didn't wait to be invited in. Her voice cracked in the space. Why won't you help me? Hanrae looked up slowly from her workbench, as if she had been expecting those exact words. I am helping you. I know you left those herbs at your parents' house. Seleah's jaw clenched. I'm going to block them. And are you going to try to cast another spell? Her tone sharpened. Especially on the anchor that's keeping you grounded in this time. Seleah looked away. That was answer enough. Hanrae stood and walked toward her. You cannot cast another spell on your father, Seleah. And he cannot say the chant with you. And you know why. Seleah's eyes filled, but she refused to blink. I just want to help him. That's all. You will, but you cannot do both spells. She took a deep breath. If you try them together, they will cancel each other out. Seleah's face broke. She looked crushed, devastated, furious at fate. Hanrae softened, stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Seleah, you are so loved. Her thumb brushed gently, motherly, along her cheek. Why won't you just love yourself? Why are you so unhappy? Seleah looked up at her hurt and confused, her eyes swirling. Hanrae took another quiet breath. What about Minjae? Seleah stiffened. Minjae and I are co-workers. He's my international exchange liaison, and he's helping me find another job after I was fired in my time. Hanrae's eyes lift. I'm aware. I know. She sat back down. He's been working very hard for you, even before you were fired. A smile escaped her. He pleaded with me many times to go easy on you. Seleah spun around. What? You? Why were you involved? Hanrae folded her hands calmly. Because your mother put me in your life. She held Seleah's gaze. She loves you more than you can imagine. And today, your father, the father you think you lost, was helping you too. Seleah's eyes filled again, but she looked away, refusing to break. Hanrae leaned in closer. Please don't block me. I won't stop you, Seleah. And she hesitated, a rare moment when she didn't know how to say something. I encourage you to help your father without using your life force. Seleah trembled slightly. Hanrae continued, voice quieter now. When you use magic here, in this time, it drains you. And soon, you won't even be strong enough to return home. Not as the day approaches. And you know what I'm talking about. Seleah closed her eyes. Hanrae stepped closer. Let me bind you as well. Seleah's eyes snapped open. To what? To Minjae. A sharp breath cut out of Seleah as she stepped back. Then what? He'll be forced to love me? No way. She shook her head. I think I can do better than that. Hanrae's jaw tightened. Better than death? Because that's the alternative. Seleah's voice hardened. I don't want him involved. Why? You don't like him? No, it's not that. Hanrae's expression softened knowingly. Seleah, he loves you. He would gladly do it. Seleah's voice cracked. It's pointless. I'm leaving anyway. There's no point in binding him to something that's temporary. Hanrae stepped back as if bracing herself. Seleah, out of everyone I've known, you of all people should have an open mind. Seleah shook her head hard. No, just forget it. It can't be done. I just don't want him involved. Hanrae sighed and turned, reaching into the drawer. She came back with a delicate heart-shaped locket and pressed it gently into Seleah's palm. Wear this tonight. Seleah frowned. Why? Hanrae offered her a satchel of herbs, placing it over the locket. Because I need you to do something for me. She reached inside her robe and pulled out a small, worn photograph of little Minjae, standing beside his mother, smiling shyly at the camera. Hanrae placed the picture gently on top of Seleah's hands. Minjae is carrying something heavy, something that has been tormenting him since his childhood. Seleah's voice was barely a whisper. What do you want me to do? Hanrae looked directly into her eyes. You can call to her. Seleah froze. How? Hanrae smiled softly, painfully. Because you can. Seleah swallowed hard. And what do you want me to say? Hanrae stepped back, her expression full of ancient sadness and deep hope. Say, It's time. The next morning, the phone rang just as the sunlight began slipping through the small cracks in Hanrae's shutters. She answered quietly, already knowing who it would be. Yes? Minjae's voice came through steady, but with that underlying concern he always carried for Seleah. You said she had a rough day yesterday? She did. A small pause. I need you to take her out today. Away from herbs, away from worry, away from her father's tension. She lowered her voice. She needs peace today. There was no hesitation. Of course, I'll take her out. But just as he was about to hang up, there was a silence, a long one. A silence that wasn't confusion or resistance, but something deeper. He wanted to say something, but he didn't know how. Hanrae felt it across the line. Minjae? His breath shifted. I'll be there soon, he said, and then he ended the call. The quiet after the call was heavy. Yes, she needs peace today. She's so drained. Hopefully he can lighten her spirits, she murmured out loud to herself. Just as she set the receiver down, Seleah entered the room. The morning was too quiet when Seleah stepped into the shop again. Hanrae was wiping down the counter, but her movements were slower, thoughtful, like she'd been replaying something in her mind all morning. And she was. Seleah held out the heart-shaped locket. I'm not drained. She placed it carefully in Hanrae's hand. And I did what you asked. Hanrae nodded. Her eyes never left Seleah's face. And what happened? Seleah hesitated, unsure of how to even describe it. When I called out to her, I expected something. She breathed out shakily. A whisper, a feeling, some kind of strain, something, anything. Hanrae stood still. Seleah shook her head. But I didn't even have to try. The moment the clock hit the hour, she appeared. Hanrae's eyes narrowed, not with worry, but with deepening curiosity. Seleah continued. She didn't speak. Her brows crumpled slightly, trying to make sense of it all. She didn't ask anything either. She didn't even look surprised. Hanrae finally looked up. Describe her to me. Well, she just sat there, cross-legged, in the corner of the room, watching. She blinked, genuinely unsettled. Like she'd been there before. Or like she'd been there always. Hanrae's breath hitched. The smallest sound, but it meant everything. Seleah didn't notice. She just kept going. She continued. She didn't try to move or anything. She didn't react. She didn't try to reach out. Her voice softened, almost confused. It felt like she was waiting. Hanrae's fingers closed around the locket slowly, thoughtfully, as if it had just become more valuable. And were you frightened when you saw her? Hanrae said. Seleah shrugged lightly. No, it was strange, but not scary. More like, she hesitated, searching for the right word. She knew me. Something flashed in Hanrae's eyes, too quick to read. Seleah exhaled and stepped back. Well, should I go and get ready, since you're kicking me out for the secret meeting with my mom? Hanrae snapped back from her thoughts into her usual smile. Yes. Go. Get ready. And look pretty. Seleah rolled her eyes and started back up the stairs, closing the door behind her. Hanrae waited until she was gone. Then she lifted the locket to the light. Her voice dropped to a whisper. She came without being called. A slow, knowing smile spread across her face. Not relief, but confirmation. Minjae's mother had answered, freely, willingly, eagerly. She was already participating. The binding was happening on its own. And that was all the confirmation she needed. Forward now, she said to herself. Forward. Minjae arrived at the shop just as Seleah cleared the landing upstairs to change. He barely paused. His body was already in motion towards the stairwell, like instinct had taken over. Before he could take the first step, Hanrae reached out and wrapped her hand around his wrist. Firm, purposeful. Not yet, she said. He stopped immediately, startled. She gave a subtle nod toward the door. Come, walk with me, she said. They stepped outside. The morning air was cool and quiet around them. They walked a few paces before Hanrae spoke, her eyes fixed forward. What were you going to say to me earlier? Minjae hesitated, the same hesitation he had on the phone. He rubbed the back of his neck, exhaling slowly. Nothing really. I was just worried, he said. Hanrae's eyes barely flicked toward him, but she was listening. She's been getting... It's hard to explain, really. He searched for the word. Hanrae stayed silent. She's usually calm, but lately she's erratic, obsessive, almost... I don't know. She's been repeating herself, getting lost in her thoughts, like she's slipping. His voice tightened. I don't know. It's just not like her. Hanrae inhaled through her nose. Then she stopped walking. As time draws closer for Thomas, this is difficult to say, but she faced him fully now. Seleah will begin to die as well. Minjae's entire body stilled, a shock so deep it didn't even reach his face right away. What are you talking about? Hanrae's voice softened, but her words didn't. She cannot stay in this time without Thomas. She is connected to him. He's her anchor. If he dies before the completed spell, for her to return, she will be pulled out of this world violently, or worse, torn apart by the transfer. A breath escaped Minjae, barely a sound, but full of fear. She needs an anchor. But before he could speak, she lifted her hand. And before you offer, yes, I asked her already. Her mouth tightened. She refused. And when Seleah digs in, she digs in. Minjae swallowed hard, throat tight. Can you do it without her knowing, he said. Hanrae looked up surprised, almost a little offended. Minjae, the thing about magic, good magic that is, real magic, it is very important that the participant be willing. They must take part on their own accord. He nodded slowly, understanding the weight of it. But you can do it, right? Without her knowing? Hanrae's jaw set. Yes, of course I can. And I must. She reached into her robe and pulled out the small, delicate chain, the heart-shaped locket, the same one she'd given Seleah earlier. She placed it into Minjae's hand. Wear this, she said, and never take it off. He looked down at it, confused but reverent. This locket, it holds her magical essence. During the binding ceremony later, all you need to do is be touching her skin at the moment the ritual seals. Minjae froze. Touching her skin, he said. Yes, a hand, an arm, anything, but contact must be made.
She studied him carefully. "And you must mouth the words I repeat to Thomas and Rosalie. Exactly. Follow Thomas's lead. If we're lucky, it will give us some time." Minjae closed his fist around the locket, breathing in sharply. Hanrae's voice sharpened, softer than he ever heard it before. "Minjae, Seleah is in grave danger." She stepped closer, and I don't know if she truly understands or if she simply just doesn't care anymore. His throat tightened. "But if anyone can save her, it's you." Her gaze held his, unwavering, ancient, honest. "Do you understand?" Minjae's voice came out low but steady. "Yes. Yes, I do." He slipped the locket over his head. The metal brushed his chest. Warm as his skin, he tucked it beneath his shirt. And for the first time in his life, he felt the weight of destiny hanging against his heart.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to continue the story. Part 2 of The Believer is next. See you there.